Title: 5 U.S. prisons so dangerous even officers fear going inside. Help this channel grow. Like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe for more stories. This helps us a lot. Thank you. The story begins. Before we begin, if you're someone who loves uncovering the darkest secrets hiding behind prison walls, hit that subscribe button. Because the stories you're about to hear aren't rumors. They come straight from former inmates, retired officers, and official reports that were never meant to leave the yard. There's a reason correctional officers in the United States undergo some of the toughest training of any law enforcement division. They don't work in ordinary buildings. They work in the middle of institutions that have been called pressure cookers, war zones, and in some cases, places where the rules of the outside world simply don't apply. And in today's deep dive, we begin with a prison so dangerous that even veteran officers, men and women with decades of experience, say that walking into certain units feels like stepping into a storm you cannot predict. Our story begins at California State Prison, Corcoran, a facility that has earned a reputation darker than the desert night that surrounds it. On paper, Corcoran was built to be one of the most secure places in California. Yet inside, officers have long stated that it's the unpredictability that makes the job terrifying. Imagine stepping onto a tier knowing that you have only seconds to recognize danger, seconds to see which inmate's eyes are following you, seconds to notice which cell door looks just a little too quiet. Retired officers have said that working certain yards at Corcoran felt like walking through a fuse waiting to spark. It's not just the inmates, it's the tension, the environment, the way violence can erupt without warning, triggered by something as simple as a coded look, a whispered message, or a dispute that started years earlier in another prison hundreds of miles away. The gangs inside operate with structure, discipline, and strategies that rival organized groups on the outside. At Corcoran, correctional staff learned early on that power didn't belong to one group. It shifted constantly like the desert sand. Officers weren't just breaking up fights. They were navigating invisible borders drawn by people who believed they had nothing left to lose. One former guard once explained that the most dangerous part of the job wasn't always what you could see, it was what you couldn't. When a unit goes quiet, he said, that's when you know something is coming. Silence becomes a warning. Stillness becomes a threat. A calm room can be the biggest red flag of all. But Corcoran isn't the only place where officers walk into danger every day. Across the country in the Deep South stands USP Pollock, a prison known for extreme inmate-on-inmate tension and a level of hostility that even seasoned officers describe as relentless. What makes Pollock different isn't just the inmates, it's the atmosphere of constant pressure. Officers say that if you work there long enough, you develop a sixth sense. You learn to read shadows. You learn to listen not just for noise, but for the moments when the noise disappears. USP Pollock houses some of the most hardened individuals in the federal system. While the design of the prison is meant to maintain control, officers often find that physical walls can only do so much when inmates are determined to test the limits. Every shift is a challenge, and every decision, where to stand, when to move, how to speak, can be the difference between a calm day and a day that becomes part of the prison's unofficial history. Then there is Rikers Island, a place that stands in its own category. Officers here describe something different: chaos. Not organized, not structured, but unpredictable. Every unit has its own personality, its own rhythm, its own rules dictated not by policy but by whoever holds influence that week. For officers, the danger doesn't just come from inmates. It comes from the sheer volatility of a facility that houses thousands of people in one of the most densely concentrated correctional environments in the country. Rikers officers talk about moments where fear becomes instinct. Moments where a routine walk through a hallway suddenly turns into a sprint for backup. They remember the constant noise, the arguments that can turn into eruptions of conflict in seconds, and the knowledge that at any moment, someone may test how far they're willing to push the limits. This is the reality inside some of the most dangerous prisons in the United States. Not Hollywood. Not exaggeration. Not stories made up for entertainment. This is where officers walk into buildings each day knowing that their safety can change with a single decision, a single glance, or a single missed detail. And in the next chapter, we step even deeper into the psychological and environmental pressures that make these prisons feared not only by inmates but by the very officers sworn to control them. Inside America's most dangerous prisons, fear isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself with shouting or chaos. Most officers say that fear arrives quietly, sitting in the corners of a dimly lit tier, waiting in the silence that follows when dozens of inmates suddenly stop talking. And in Chapter 2, we go deeper into the psychology, the power struggles, and the everyday reality that officers describe as being trapped between unpredictable pressure and total responsibility. To understand how dangerous these prisons are, you have to understand the environment officers walk into. These institutions aren't just buildings, they're ecosystems, each one with its own hierarchy, its own culture, and its own unwritten rules. The danger doesn't come only from the inmates themselves, but from the atmosphere that surrounds every decision, every interaction, every shift. Take USP Beaumont in Texas, part of a region officers have nicknamed the Bloody Triangle. While we won't go into graphic detail, official reports and officer testimonies show a pattern. Beaumont is a place where tensions between major groups, federal prison gangs, street-based crews, and independent inmates never stay calm for long. Officers say that walking the units here requires more than authority. It requires awareness, patience, and a level of emotional control that most people can't maintain for long. One former officer explained it like this: "There's no blueprint for what's going to happen. You walk in and you read the room. And if the room feels wrong, it usually is." These prisons often house individuals with long sentences, some serving decades, some serving life. As a result, officers are constantly dealing with men who have reached a point where consequences mean little. When someone feels like they have nothing left to lose, it creates an environment where rules are challenged every single day. Officers have to be alert not just to the people who openly defy authority, but to the ones who are patient, controlled, and waiting for the right moment to shift the balance. In Rikers Island, the danger is different. Officers describe it as a place where everything can change instantly. Rikers is not a slow burn, it's rapid, reactive, explosive. Officers talk about how walking into a dorm housing dozens of inmates feels like stepping into a room full of live wires. Any one of them could spark something. Rikers has had long-standing issues with staffing levels, overcrowding, and inmate turnover. This constant movement creates a kind of instability that makes it difficult to predict the atmosphere on any given shift. One officer described arriving on a normal Monday morning, walking through a corridor he'd walked through hundreds of times. But that morning the energy was different. People were pacing. Conversation stopped as he passed. The air felt heavier. "That's when you realize," he said, "you don't control the building controls you." On the West Coast, at Pelican Bay State Prison, the danger is colder, calculated, structured, strategic. Officers say that the most difficult part of working Pelican Bay isn't loud conflict, it's the silence. Housing some of the most influential gang figures in the state of California, Pelican Bay operates with an undercurrent of intelligence and coordination that outsiders often underestimate. Officers must stay alert to communications passed through glances, hand signals, or messages hidden in everyday routines. It's not uncommon for officers to describe an intense psychological pressure, a sense that they're constantly being watched, not just by inmates but by the environment itself. Pelican Bay's infamous security housing unit, known for its isolation and strict control, has long been the subject of reports from officers who say that working there demands mental discipline as much as physical presence. Another prison that shapes the narrative of danger is USP Lewisburg, a facility known for housing some of the federal system's most volatile individuals. Officers at Lewisburg often describe the tension as constant and concentrated. Because many inmates here are transferred from other prisons due to behavioral issues, officers never walk into a shift expecting calm. Across all these institutions, officers agree on one thing: it's not about a single event that makes a prison dangerous. It's the accumulation, day after day, year after year, of unpredictability, pressure, and psychological strain. Most people will never experience what it's like to walk into a building where one wrong move can change everything. But officers do it every single day. They walk into places where they must maintain control in environments designed to challenge it. They must remain calm in situations where instinct tells them to move faster, speak louder, or stay away. And in the next chapter, we reveal the prisons that officers themselves rank as the most dangerous of all. Places where the fear is justified, the tension never drops, and every shift could become part of history. In the final chapter of this investigation, we explore the prisons that officers themselves consistently rank as the most dangerous in the United States. The institutions where the fear is not exaggerated, not imagined, but earned through years of lived experience. These are the places where correctional officers walk into work every day knowing that their decisions must be flawless, because a single mistake can change everything. When officers speak privately, away from reporters and official statements, there's a recurring truth. No one fears the buildings themselves, they fear what the buildings can become. A prison doesn't stay dangerous by accident. It becomes dangerous because of its culture, its population, its history, and the energy that fills its hallways. And no place embodies this more than ADX Florence, often called the Alcatraz of the Rockies. This is the highest security federal prison in the United States, a fortress designed to hold the most disruptive, influential, or high-risk individuals in the country. From the outside, ADX looks sterile, organized, almost perfectly controlled. But officers who have worked there will tell you that ADX's danger is not loud, it's psychological. Here, inmates spend much of their time isolated, and this creates a pressure that doesn't always explode outward. It builds internally. Officers working ADX must manage individuals who are smart, patient, and strategic. Many are serving extreme sentences and have little incentive to cooperate. The danger isn't constant chaos. It's the knowledge that if a situation does break, it will be fast, calculated, and potentially devastating. You learn to expect the unexpected, one former ADX staff member said. Silence is never comfort here. It's a warning. From the controlled quiet of ADX, we move to a prison where danger takes on a completely different shape. USP Atlanta, one of the oldest federal penitentiaries still operating in the United States. Officers here describe a unique kind of volatility. The prison's age, design, and overcrowding have created blind spots, literal and psychological. It's a place where visibility can change in an instant, where noise echoes unpredictably, and where officers often feel the weight of history pressing against their shoulders. USP Atlanta has seen decades of high-profile inmates, internal conflict, and systemic challenges. Officers working there often say that the building feels alive, constantly shifting, constantly breathing. They talk about the strain of maintaining control in a place designed long before modern correctional standards existed. And they talk about the exhaustion, the mental grind of knowing that every hallway holds its own story, its own potential threat, its own unknown. Further south in Louisiana sits Angolaprison, officially known as the Louisiana State Penitentiary. Angola is enormous, a working prison farm the size of a small town. Many officers describe it as a place where the past and present collide. Angola has a long, complex history that shapes its culture even today. The inmates housed here include individuals serving some of the longest sentences in the nation, people who have created their own structure, their own society, and their own rules. For officers, the danger at Angola is rooted in the scale of the place. With thousands of inmates spread across a massive property, officers must maintain awareness, coordination, and communication at all times. Angola's vastness makes it unpredictable. Officers walk long distances, work in open fields, and move through buildings that feel isolated from the rest of the facility. They often talk about how the sheer size of the prison amplifies every risk. If something happens, help can be far away. Next is Men's Central Jail, Los Angeles. Not a prison, but a facility so dangerous that many officers say it surpasses the intensity of high-security prisons. Men's Central Jail is one of the largest and most complex detention facilities in the United States, housing individuals from every background, every gang, every type of offense. Officers describe it as a pressure chamber, where overcrowding, constant intake, and the mix of rival groups create instability that shifts hour by hour. Former officers say that unpredictability is the core danger here. A situation can escalate in seconds, triggered by something as simple as a rumor or the movement of one influential detainee. With so many people confined in a small area, tension becomes a living force, something you can feel before you even hear it. But if you ask officers across the nation which prison they would never want to work in, which facility they believe defines the word dangerous, many will name Rikers Island once again. Not because it is the most secure, not because it is the largest, not because it houses the most notorious inmates, but because it is unpredictable, and unpredictability is the enemy of safety. At Rikers, officers describe a constant rotation of new faces, temporary detainees, individuals struggling with mental health issues, and people with nothing to lose in the short time they spend there. Every shift brings a new set of challenges, a new set of personalities, and a new set of pressures. Officers report that the sheer volume of daily incidents, arguments, and conflicts creates a level of exhaustion that takes a toll on even the most experienced staff. By the time officers finish describing these places, ADX Florence, USP Atlanta, Angola, Men's Central Jail, Rikers Island, a common theme emerges. It's not just the danger itself that makes these prisons feared. It's the mental strain of existing in environments where danger never fully disappears. Every officer who works in these prisons must balance authority with awareness, discipline with instinct, and professionalism with survival. They walk into buildings where every decision matters, where calm moments can shift instantly, and where the walls themselves seem to hold memories of everything that has happened before. So when officers say they fear certain prisons, they aren't exaggerating. They're speaking from experience, from years of reading rooms that feel wrong, from moments where instinct saved them, from a lifetime of understanding that danger doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet, patient, waiting for its moment. And that is why these prisons are considered the most dangerous in America.